for the Philadelphia Arena. The reason why they were able to break the attendance record, if you guys don't know, the court was smaller. The court was smaller, so they had a whole bunch of seats on the floor. There was a lot more seats in attendance.
They're trying to run the biggest scam in women's basketball right in front of your face. Use one record crowd to claim the WNBA doesn't need Caitlin Clark, while quietly admitting the record happened, because they literally changed the building setup and flooded the arena with extra seats. And here's the part that should make every fan furious. This isn't just trolling. This kind of narrative is getting weaponized in the most important fight the league has coming, the next CBA. Because if you can convince people Clark isn't the engine, you can justify a future where the players gamble the league's stability and the owners slam the brakes on revenue sharing. And the question you have to answer by the end of this video is simple. Are anti-CC gotcha numbers just harmless fan noise, or are they actively sabotaging the league's future?
The reason why they were able to break the attendance record, if you guys don't know, the court was smaller. The court was smaller, so they had a whole bunch of seats on the floor. There was a lot more.
That right there is Exhibit A. Not women's basketball doesn't need Clark. Not the league's fine without her. The very first explanation is the conditions changed. Smaller court, more floor seating, more inventory. That's not automatically a bad thing. Good promotions do that all the time, but don't twist it into a moral victory lap over Caitlin Clark's popularity. Because if your argument starts with, well, technically we increased the number of seats, then it's not proof you replaced the biggest ratings magnet in the sport. It's proof you found a clever way to sell more tickets in one building on one night. And the second they try to turn it into a gotcha, this stops being about basketball and becomes about power. Team Caitlin says she's the draw, she's the ratings, she's the money. Team WNBA, at least the loudest corner of it, says, stop making it about her, the league is bigger than one player. Sounds noble, until you ask why her name is still the one dominating the conversation, even when she's not on the floor.
It's not easy. Where tickets very cheap, yeah. Where they're giving out a lot of free tickets, yeah. But that really, at the end of the day, doesn't matter, because, look, even if it is free tickets, still have to get people to show up.
Here's what that reveals. This record wasn't just raw demand. It was demand plus pricing leveraged cheap tickets, maybe comps, maybe giveaways. Again, that doesn't invalidate the turnout, but it does expose the dishonesty of the dunk attempt. Because if your "we don't need Caitlin" proof requires pricing the building like a clearance rack, then what you're really proving is that women's basketball does need smart marketing. And that Caitlin Clark has been the easiest marketing the WBA has ever had, and fans are splitting into tribes over it. You can already predict the comments. One side screaming everyone's jealous. The other side yelling stop crediting one white girl for everything. That's the trap. Because while fans fight culture wars in the replies, the business side watches one thing. What consistently sells at full price on the road across multiple cities on national TV windows.
Marina Mabry taking over. This was what, like, the effort that they played at in these games. This was like an all-star game almost. It was like showing up to an all-star game, except the players tried. The players give 7 out of 10 effort in Unrivaled. They give absolutely 7 out of 10 effort. They'd put up some bullshit, but you know what? That can be some of the most fun parts of it. Hence, obviously, we saw with Marina Mabry, like, what she did was kind of ridiculous. Like, Marina Mabry she had 47 points yesterday.
This is the moment the pro WNBA without Clark crowd wants you to focus on. Look, the product is fun. The players are hooping, and they're not wrong. Mabry going off is electric. But read between the lines, 7 out of 10 effort, almost like an all-star game. That's not the same as the WNBA grind, the nightly physicality, the scouting, the stakes. So when people compare this kind of event pop to the Clark-fueled WNBA surge, they're comparing two different realities. And here comes the toxic part. They're not celebrating women's basketball. They're trying to win a feud. They want a scoreboard that says, see, we did it without her. But if that's true, if she's not the main driver, why does she keep hijacking the spotlight even on nights she didn't play?
Funniest things ever. Because, do you know whose name was trending yesterday? Caitlin Clark.
That's Exhibit B. Even the attempted victory parade gets overshadowed by Caitlin Clark discourse. And now you've got the real scandal. A chunk of the online ecosystem is obsessed with proving she's not necessary. So obsessed, they'll attach themselves to any number that looks like a win. The reaction loop is predictable. Team Caitlin hears that tweet and says, "You're ungrateful. She's the reason anyone's paying attention." Team WNBA hears backlash and says, "You're trying to silence legitimate stars and make one player the whole story." And meanwhile, executives and owners are thinking, If the public can be convinced the surge isn't real, we can slow walk the money. Because the next CBA isn't a group chat argument. It's the league's future. It's whether players get a bigger slice, whether owners take on more risk, and whether the league can promise stability without betting everything on one phenomenon.
Do we not remember this? Do we not remember this? Caitlin Clark and Iowa absolutely broke the women's sports attendance. They had 55,000 people at a game. They had 55,000 people a game. And I mean this, like...
That's the heart of Team Caitlin's case. Scale and consistency. Not a cute arena reconfiguration. A football stadium-sized statement that redefined what women's basketball could draw. And when someone tries to erase that history, it doesn't feel like normal sports debate, it feels like sabotage. Now zoom out. The WNBA has lived through decades of being treated like a charity project by mainstream sports media. Players have fought for better pay, better travel, better conditions, and respect. Those fights are real. But here's the uncomfortable truth that makes people angry. Leverage in sports labor wars comes from revenue confidence. The second owners believe the boom is fragile, they stop giving, they start protecting themselves. And that's exactly why the Caitlin Clark effect matters, even if you personally can't stand her fans.
That if the WNBA, if the CBA doesn't get signed, there's no amount of money that they'll sign because there's too many. I think they're arguing on buzzwords. They have used buzzwords to convince themselves that a 7x increase in salary is a bad deal. Like, they have literally convinced themselves of that. And it's like, the real world that's not chronically online is like, what are we doing? There is no world which the WNBA sign a bad deal. Could they sign the ideal deal that they exactly want? No. No one ever does in CBA negotiations. But they've 7x their salary. They've already got a great deal. They've already got a fantastic deal.
This clip is gasoline on the fire, because it frames the players as out of touch and chronically online, chasing buzzwords instead of reality. Team owners will love that framing. Team players will hate it because they'll say, we're not greedy, we're overdue. And fans get forced to choose. Are players finally standing up for themselves? Or are they overplaying their hand right as the league finally has momentum? But it gets darker. The host suggests this online anti-Clark noise isn't just noise, that it's influencing people who actually matter.
And you're seeing it. And by the way, these players are terminally online. The worst part is that these random Twitter Caitlin Clark hate accounts actually have some fucking sway amongst these players, which is berserk, by the way.
If that's even partially true, it's a disaster, because it means the league's labor negotiations could be happening in a psychological fog of online clout, resentment, and faction warfare. That's not empowerment. That's manipulation. And here's where the WNBA doesn't need Caitlin narrative becomes more than annoying. It becomes strategically dangerous, because if players internally buy the idea that the league's popularity is just naturally rising no matter what, they may assume maximum leverage. But if owners look at the numbers and believe the popularity is tied heavily to one superstar-driven surge, they'll argue the opposite. This could collapse if the star gets hurt. And in the transcript, that fear is said out loud.
If Caitlin Clark gets injured again and we give you guys this deal, the league's going to go bankrupt. Because that's what happens. If Caitlin Clark blows out her knee, touch wood, doesn't happen, but if she blows out her knee, the league gives the players the current deal they are in terms of revenue split, the league goes bankrupt.
That is the cold, ruthless business reality nobody wants to say on camera. Not because it's respectful, because it's ugly. It turns a player into a single point of failure, and it also exposes the league's biggest vulnerability. If one star's absence triggers panic about finances, then the league isn't diversified enough yet. So who's right? Team Caitlin says, you don't downplay the one person pulling new fans through the door, you build around it, protect it, and monetize it while also uplifting everyone else. Team WNBA says if you build the whole house on one pillar, you're asking to get crushed. And the culture of Clark fandom has made that pillar toxic. But the so-called rival fans bragging that the league doesn't need her, they're playing with matches next to gasoline. Because if you win the narrative war and convince casual fans that Clark is overrated, you don't magically boost the whole league. You risk cutting the one core that's dragging the sport into bigger arenas, bigger TV windows, and bigger checks. Here's my verdict. This we don't need Caitlin Clark victory dance is not confidence. It's denial dressed up as empowerment. Celebrating Unrivaled's crowd is great, Using it as a weapon to erase why the WNBA is exploding right now is reckless. And if the league's next CBA turns into a game of chicken between players demanding the world and owners, terrified the boom is star-dependent, everybody loses players, fans, and the future of the sport. So I'm putting you on the spot. No fence sitting. Are you Team Caitlyn, meaning the league should lean into the Clark effect and stop letting online hate steer the narrative? Or are you Team WNBA, meaning the league must prove it's bigger than one star, even if that means checking her fans and resisting the hype? Comment Team Caitlyn or Team WNBA, and tell me which side is lying the most: players, owners, or the fans trying to turn attendance into a gotcha.